Hi, I'm Peggy, and I'm here with some global news. Usually I'm doing crypto gal for you guys, but I always like to be able to explore and share what's out there globally perspective, as well as commodities and the stock markets. I'm not anybody's financial advisor. I'm just here to be able to share the news so that everybody can be alert, do your own reading research, and what you can explore to define what your needs are for your future. Okay, so let's get started. One of the things that I am really high and intensified on, and hope that you are the same, since we are moving into a technology world of space, that you will acclaim yourself to understand this energy enforcement that is coming about. Man, I really love this virtual background with you guys. Okay, so what it is and the status quo is back in COVID, which I firmly believe that this was a creation for us to get alerted upon, is the word I'm going to be used for here, globally perspective, to make sure that every government knew how they could control us as a human being. As well as, AI as big formalities coming about in the last 20 years, even before that, back in the early 50s. So with that further ado, energy fields have been created. Back in COVID, when it was lifted in November, the G20 met, and then the G7 in December, and they discussed the top priorities of the infrastructure, which you have definitely seen across the globe with all governments of enforcement. Electricity is going out, as well as electric cars are coming in. This is a production source for us to have clean air in the ecosystem. The global warming situation, and just make ourselves more pertinent as the use as to what the hell is happening and why we are destroying Mother Earth. Okay, without going into the broad of spiritual iniquities and stuff like this, I'm just going to be able to share with you guys something of resourcing. And this is something that came about from, as I call, updates from the Hill, an open letter to the Americas as the CEOs were standard. Back in March of 2021, it was for all businesses to advocate for policies that enable the United States to achieve net zero GHG emissions no later than 2050. Now, the G20 and the G7 has definitely proclaimed themselves that they made top priority when they had these meetings back in 2020 to say, this is where we are headed. This is where our drive is. This is where we will be 2030 at the levels they're saying. That with 2015 and cut emissions at least 50% below 2005 levels by the year 2030. So this is a drastic, quick change. We are in 2021. 2030 will be here before you know it. With broad business support, those targets were adopted in April in the United States Nationally Determined Contribution, which is the NDC, under the Paris Agreement. Now, a lot of you don't even know the history making in regards to that, and you ask me, Peggy, what the hell is the Paris Agreement? For those of you that are not history buffs and don't follow along on global and see these big, huge pinwheels, which are turbines, I call them pinwheels, as well as solar panels that are going up, huge investment sources out there in the markets, the Paris Agreement is a legally binding international treaty on climate change. It was adopted by 196 parties at the COP21 in Paris in the 12th of December in 2015, and it entered into force on 4th of November 2016. Its goal is to limit global warming to well below 2, preferably 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. The US, which has historically released more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere than any other nation, is the only country to have withdrawn from the Paris deal. And the US formally rejoined the agreement on the 19th of February underneath the Biden administration as his top priority, and was not recognized publicly to the United States citizens. Only thing that was focused on the Biden administration was the infrastructure, with just a touch glow that we are headed to this big climate change and the importance of what our needs are. We now have a once in a decade opportunity to pass climate legislation needed to meet those targets through the infrastructures and budget packages moving in Congress. Now is the time for all businesses that have called for ambitious climate policies to take that message to Congress and ensure the climate provisions in both bills are signed and designated into the laws above. So what will we be taxed on next, right? The urgency for climate policy could not be more clear. The latest IPCC report warns of the dire consequences of the continued warming. Extreme weather events in the different summers ahead that lies, like even in during COVID, And there in 2021, we've seen some drastic changes come about, even from the north to the south, west, and the east, from fires to snowstorms to ice blizzards, avalanches, melting glaciers, burning holes of melting into the ground, major hurricanes and storms hitting our Mother Earth again into the areas of the United States, as well as around the world, to illustrate the growing human and economic cost of inactions. These impacts are already falling hardest and on low-income communities, and where the communities are needed in color. Not to be discriminatory in this values, is just showing the necessities of the rich are the rich, the poor are the poor, and then you have the middle class. They're designating this, that the Biden administration is almost fixing to mandate it, where a portion of these percentages are developed from the businesses, that they have to make this climate change. Well, with more and more companies that are closing, this will prevent us from being able to move forward with this. The moment for companies, investors to match their climate and equity commitments with consistent actions and advocacy. As the U.S. continues with its $1 billion trillion infrastructure bill for the Clean Energy Act, China has been working hard on their infrastructure and used their downtime during COVID to do nothing but do their rebuilding and developing of their own country. And now the EU states for its satisfaction into joining it. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen proclaimed in her annual State of the Union speech in the European Parliament that the launching of the new global infrastructure program, known as Global Gateway, in a parallel to the EU's bid for more global role and an increased focus on the Indo-Pacific region, the strategy seeks to deepen trade links, strengthen global supply chains, and develop new investment projects on the green and digital technologies. Although von der Leyen did not identify the Belt and Road Initiative, better known as the BRI by its name, there is no mistake that the Global Gateway is intended to counteract the influence of Beijing has cultivated through the BRI. Recognizing China's head start and the need for the distinct EU response, von der Leyen remarked, "We are good financing roads, but it's not make sense for the Europe to build a perfect road between a Chinese-owned copper mine and a Chinese-owned harbor." Instead, she states that the EU will seek to take the values-based approach, offering transparency and good governance to its partners. We want to create links and not dependencies. It is a reference to the controversial status that the BRI has acquired in recent years. As you can see globally, we are focused on the green energy efficiency, which drives this technology space for digital currency and securities from the internet, as well as the clean air to breathe so our laptops do not overheat and our cell phones don't burn our ears or scar our fingertips while texting. In 2035, the status quo of direction is around the corner, and for my child, as her age of being, and her friends, that will live what has been planted in our minds from Hollywood, USA, all along in the movie world. So it is not a surprise of what is coming, because it is here now, my dear friends. This is an intrigue and an inspiration for you to note where this is inlaid. And just to share with you guys briefly, I'm going to show you a chart here that shows where the total energy production lays. And as you can see, the numbers that have progressed, this is stating it from the year of 2020. This is coming out of the recovery of COVID. China itself is 2,749 production units, United States 2,190, and so on and so on and so on. So you can see the graduating scale has definitely lifted, where China and United States still play into those factors of what they're going to do, what their determination is, where their inlies are, and what their progressiveness is needed for. This is something that I feel like is very, very important. I firmly believe that more and more people should be able to focus on the needs and their whereabouts of their attributions, to know where their investments lay. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out, people. You can see the changes that are coming about, the desires that are in need, where this inlays for different people, understanding the intakes and their annuities with this. This is something that is definitely a source with making certain that we have a direction where we are in need, where we are in control. so that the governments can see us as the people that we are working on this. We've got to figure out how to come together in this need. Now, I also want to share with you just real quick, and that is a chart of total energy consumption. And that is a big difference of change. I just showed you production. Now I'm going to show you consumption. And it's kind of the same status quo here. China still being the largest. And gee, oh, I wonder why. When you look at the United States, we literally gave up all of our trade wars to do a lot of our trading over with the Chinese market. Our shirts that I wear, our jewelry, our hair cleansing and formalities, our shoes, our cell phones, our smart TVs, our internet sourcing, anything pretty much made in Taiwan, made in China. And I'm not downgrading them for it. It's just, where is the consumption being? Down, baby. Sorry, my dog is a little excited. Need to get her to the beach. But with this being a source line, these are consumptions that are need. No, not necessarily. You can focus on that. So like my friends over in Texas that have to have their air conditioner be bred at 60 degrees because it's 110 degrees on the heat index. I said, come on, be realistic, people. Back in the 1930s, 1920s, they didn't even have that. They had a little bitty old fan that even blew on them, and their bodies survived it, and they managed just fine. This is why I feel like the intake, we have definitely been spoiled across the globe, not just the United States. I'm not just picking on my home country. I'm trying to say, make sure your statuettes of there are of a better value. Learn the differentiations. Pay attention to the food that you're putting in your mouth. Pay attention to your energy source line. Let your body normally accommodate to this. Be able to share and know what your value lines are. These are good investment sources. A lot of people are investing in the solar panels, making sure that this is a different direction and where we're headed in life's future plans. So if I've given you one thing to do in your read and research, you guys, make sure you look out for this, because the changes here and the energy source is going to be one that's going to play in a high status quo for us. So looking at it from solar panels, or even in what I call the pinwheels of the turbines, is something that is a good investment for yourself. So take care of yourself, and I will be with you very soon to be able to discover more with you in regards to what's going on globally. You guys take care and have a great day. Bye.